Welcome, welcome, welcome. KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show. And guess what, Santa Clarita? It is snowing outside. Wow. Southern California. They said it couldn't happen. I see it with my own eyes. You're listening to, again, the Ask Brien Radio Show. Brien is B-R-I-E-N, because that's the only way you should ever spell the word Brien. Nobody spells it I-A-N or Y-A-N. That's old school. The new way is E-N. And I think I'm even getting some converts from the millennials. They're saying it's E-N now. That's how you spell Brien. And I'm sitting here with my great co-host, Alex Grossman!
Brien, you're a snowman today, that's for sure.
And we have our great special guest calling in all the way from halfway through the United States, Mr. James Kernan. Are you there, James?
Hey, guys, I'm here. Okay,
so before we start the show, some people don't know much about Ask Brien, and again, Ask Brien is AskBrien.com, and Ask Brien is basically a website where people can ask questions for any type of business question. It has to be geared towards business. They can ask an expert that are qualified expert leaders throughout the country that will answer business questions. The experts can post webinars to teach a business class. They can post videos. They can post e-books and blog posts. Basically anything that can teach a business owner some business concept. And from that is where we came up with the Ask Brien radio show, whereby Ask Brien is teaching people a business lesson each week. And our guest, James, I don't know if you just came on board recently, so I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the site. If you haven't, you can look at it after the show. If you have, that'd be great too. I think we're pretty much set here. So, James, for listeners that don't know who you are, let's go a little bit about your background. So, where did you begin your business life?
So right as I graduated from college out of the Midwest area, I moved out to Southern California and I lived in Los Angeles there. So I started with a technology company and worked for them for a few years. Kind of started as a sales rep. It was right at the beginning of that tech wave back in the 90s, so all through the 90s. But started with a company called Overbite Computers in the LA area. We sold to government, education, and medical clients, and kind of things evolved from there, and worked my way up to VP of sales. Was there for about 5 years, left and went aboard a big competitor of theirs out of San Diego, called Technology Integration Group, and worked with them for about 7 years, but grew them from about 30 million over to 315 million. So real successful track record there, and then finally broke off and started my own business and built that up and sold it, and have been coaching folks ever since how to do that.
Now, the business that you started on your own, was that in the same industry? Because it sounds to me like since you went to the competitor, you're probably starting your business, I would imagine, in the same industry.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it was right in the technology space. So we were more of a B2B reseller of computer networking equipment, computer support and services. So that was my background for the past, or during that time frame through all those companies. And then I actually bought a small company that was struggling at that time, so it really technically wasn't a startup, but they were pretty small, just 3 people, real low sales, and then we grew that to about 12 million and then sold that.
And over what period of time, from basically 0 to 12 million?
We grew to about 12 million in 3 years, so
wow.
So good growth. That first year was a real struggle. I think I get an F for timing, but for those of you that are old enough and can remember, that was 2001. So 2001, it was my year to do my big leap of faith, go off on my own, and bought a company that spring, and it was struggling already, so I had to put a little cash in the business and get things rolling. But for those of you that remember, 2001 was one of the worst economic years on the map for quite a while, and stock market really flattened out in the summer, and then 9/11 happened that fall. So in September, and that same month, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So that was just a brutal year. So 2001, that was a tough year, and felt like giving up several times. But I knew what I was doing. I just needed to continue to market my business and persevere. And fortunately for me, the very beginning of the next year, 2002, we won a couple big projects. One of the projects was Petco Ballpark. Our company was involved in all the cabling and network infrastructure for that project. That was awesome. And then we won a big Navy and Marine Corps technology project, and both of those really put us on the map and help us catapult our growth.
Well, I would imagine both the Petco deal as well as the Navy, those would be based on bidding. So you had to go through a bidding process in all three of those, or?
Exactly. It was very different. The bigger of the two was the Navy project, and they approached us because we were a Dell partner, and we were also a certified small business, and we were kind of pre-selected because of that criteria. We were interviewed as a candidate that would. So we were a subcontractor underneath a prime contractor for the federal government. So that was technically a commercial deal, but the end user we supported together was the federal government. So technically we were interviewed, it didn't really go out to bid, so that was a private opportunity. But that turned out to be very lucrative for us. And then the Petco one was a bid process, and we partnered with a big company back then that had a long, successful track record in the cabling and infrastructure business called Sim.J. Harris. And I think together we kind of made a mini superpower that helped us win that proposal.
Well, that's pretty amazing. So, I mean, that's a great way to grow your business if you can get those winning bids.
Exactly, yeah. That certainly helped, and as a result of that, we were able to kind of diversify the business, and most of our business at that time was commercial accounts. So a lot of small and mid-sized businesses in San Diego that we supported.
Yeah, that was at the height of the real reseller integration boom. Early 2000 to 2010. There was a real boom, especially in California, and especially for government contractors. So sounds like right time, but really made it happen. That's incredible growth.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that first year again was tough, and I've always said I've been very fortunate and blessed in my career, a lot of success, but I think you learn a lot more in those times that you're struggling, right? So you got to really buckle up the chin strap and fight through those tough times. But that was quite a learning experience, and from that, I think I learned a great deal.
So, what would you consider your greatest accomplishment?
Actually, in 2004, I believe it was, right at the height of us growing up to 12 million, we ended up winning an award that I didn't know about until the camera crew showed up. They just said they wanted to interview me, and it was one of the technology industry, one of the big publications, or if not the biggest at that time, was CRN magazine, and they interview and take kind of a polling across the country, and we were selected as the #1 fastest growing technology company in the country at that time, and we're highlighted as a cover page article for them, and that was quite an accomplishment, not just for me but the whole team, and clearly a team effort. But it's always great to get that recognition, and that was one of the first very public, being on the front of a magazine, and then from that spurred all sorts of other awards, San Diego Business Journal, and some other industry publications as well. And then I was on the local news there a few times, just as one of the computer experts when they needed help. So I think good news kind of started with that. So that was a lot of fun.
So you built your own PR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was one of the things that I prided myself in is, when the economy's bad, you just can't control that. And when I bought that small practice, only 3 people, nobody really knew who we were. And prior to that, I was with, a big company, over 300 million of revenue. I had about 140 people reporting underneath me, and everybody knew who that company was at that time. That was kind of the big 800-pound gorilla in San Diego. But nobody would give me the time of day when I had 3 people and revenues under 300,000. So we really had to market ourselves aggressively and think outside the box. One of the things I did was, I didn't have a huge marketing budget, so I worked closely with some of our key manufacturer partners, Hewlett-Packard, Dell, for example, some of the security partners, and piggybacked off a lot of the marketing they had, but they helped co-sponsor or really sponsor all of our marketing. We did a lot of events, webinars, email campaigns, cold call campaigns. We were everywhere, and I think as a result, that really helped catapult our growth.
And how many employees did you have when you sold out a few years later?
We grew. That contract skewed our numbers quite a bit, but we had about 22 full-time employees in the office, and then we ran staffing projects. I remember one payroll. So the way that worked with the government is, one point in time I had 287 engineers that were billing out either part-time or full-time on one of our payrolls, and I remember seeing that number once, and my eyes about popped out of my head. But that didn't really count because those were all contracted to different bases around the country.
So you're running this organization. You had a lot under your belt there, right? You're doing your own PR, which is always crazy. You have a whole bunch of marketing programs, sales programs going on at the same time, so driving a lot of things. If you had a point to just the triangle of growth, I guess kind of what you're doing today, right? Looking at what the best is, where the most significant growth can come from, where the most success can come out of that. Where'd you find your growth came from? Was it just a combination of all of it, or was there an individual point of success that you could tag and say, this is where I really see the growth coming from?
So the company at that time, when I first bought that company, it was a company called Networks Plus, and they were known as the Goldmine guys. So Goldmine was an old CRM program.
Know it
pretty
well.
Popular. Yeah. So that was they were a Goldmine Platinum dealer, but that's really all they did. They didn't really sell equipment or sell other goods or services, and I just wanted to build off of that. So it kind of started the CRM practice, and then added, network support. Staffing was really lucrative for us when we won that government contract. Things really took off from a staffing standpoint. And then, security started getting hot back then, or way back then. It's on fire today just because of all the threats out there. But we focused in, probably the big growth area for us was staffing and security.
That's fantastic. So that took you through the sale of your company, and then I've been through this myself. How'd you decide what to do next, and what'd you do next?
Yeah, that's funny. So I had a non-compete, and I thought I outsmarted everybody by having just a regional non-compete. It was a 5-year non-compete, which is long, but it was in that space, but it was just our Southern California geography. And I had plans right at that point in time to move to Texas, where my family's all living now. But at that time, it was 2006 time frame, and I was looking at moving. But my wife, a Southern California girl, at that time didn't want to move, didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I didn't realize that till after the contract was executed, and I had to really reinvent myself. So what happened was doing some soul searching, and I got a random phone call one day from a guy that was at a marketing conference. And he called me and said, hey, I was at some conference, and this person was talking about successful companies that grew and sold the business, and they grew through marketing themselves very well, and your name was mentioned. And he goes, I'm in San Diego, you're in San Diego, and you don't get what you don't ask for. So I just took it upon myself to pick up the phone and call you. And that was intriguing enough for me. One, is flattering just to get a random phone call like that, but I wanted to find out who the speaker was and learn more about how they knew about me and so forth. So I ended up just calling the company, introduced myself, and it was a big marketing company in the tech space based in Nashville, Tennessee. And we hit it off, and she invited me to come speak to one of her mastermind groups in Las Vegas and said, hey, if everybody likes what you have to say, why don't we work together on a program? And I said, oh, all right, we'll grow in your business. I went to business school. Everybody already knows how to write a business plan and how to create your marketing plan and how to recruit people and reward them and compensate and train them and keep them motivated. I go, those are all just business fundamentals. So I explained the 10 steps that I followed to grow my business and sell it, and people were really excited about it. So I was kind of surprised, but wrote out a 10-step workbook program called the 36-Month Millionaire Program. And that was wildly successful. We launched that in 2007, and probably about 300 people in the tech space went through that program, and that really spurred from there a need for me to do more one-on-one consulting with people as well.
So can you give us those 10 steps?
I don't know if I remember them exactly the way it was, but it was essentially a similar framework that I use today when I work with people. But I use a series of exercises in all of these, but it kind of, to me, everything starts with a plan. So I've got an exercise called the one-page business plan that talks about your goals, your objectives or strategy, your mission, which is really why are you doing this, and then your unique selling proposition. So most of that is fairly easy. A lot of small business owners don't have a plan, unfortunately, and they don't want to pay a consultant like me thousands of dollars to write a big 50-page plan, nor do they need one. So I used this one-page business plan template, which was great. You can get through it in about 15 minutes, but the trickiest part is that unique selling proposition. And what that really is how are you different or better than your competition from the customer's perspective?
Right.
So in the technology space, for example, it's really hard to, a lot of people are saying the same things, they're using the same tools, and not doing a very good job of it, frankly. So that's a tough space to create that unique selling proposition. But I'll work with business owners, and that was really step one of the plan. Number two was, creating your go-to-market plan, which is really your marketing campaigns. What vendors are you going to work with? What events are you going to do? And it's really just listed out as another one-page exercise of what marketing campaigns you're going to run, almost like a task list to get people. And frankly, most small businesses or mid-sized businesses that come to me, they aren't really doing much marketing at all. It's all referral, or they get things off the web, but they don't really have a formal marketing plan. So that was step two. And then the next one's really just kind of lead into creating what I call your dream team. It's hiring the right people. Most of us are in the professional services space where your people are your services. So you've got to hire A players and treat them like A players and keep them motivated and trained and fired up. So that was one of them. The next one was more incentives, and that leads to the keeping people motivated, but they need to be rewarded for good behavior. So I'm a big fan of performance-based compensation plans that, meaning low salary but high commissions based on what you do for the company. And it doesn't have to just be a salesperson. Most people, to me, fall in one of two categories. It's either people that make you money or people that save you money. And I've always felt that they should be rewarded for both. So compensation is another one. Culture was another one. I think that was number 5. And that's a big piece. And I could go on for days about culture and what that looks like. But that culture that we created at Networks Plus, that was one of the fun things that made us different and unique. And we worked hard, but we played hard. I remember one time, in Southern California, I heard you guys just joking about it snowing. And, it never snows in Southern California. Well, it never rains either. And I remember one winter day, it was a cold, rainy day. It was a Monday. Nobody wanted to be there. And we were sitting in a sales meeting, and I said, you know what, that's it. I don't want to be here either, but as long as we're here, let's make it fun. So I think a couple of us just formed a quick task team, and we all went different directions, but somebody went to the store, and we ended up having like a big chili feed, and we bought a grill and, bought the pans to cook the chili and all the ingredients and all the utensils and all the other fixings, and somebody ran up and we had a warehouse at the time, and got a big portable basketball hoop, and we kind of made a fun day of it. And, things like that just mean a lot to employees, and I think as a result, they try a lot harder. But those are some of the examples of that framework that I would work with people that were part of that program.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to go back to the next 5. Thank you very much, James. We'll be right back. KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM.
Do you ever listen, but you're not really paying attention? Sort of like what you're doing to me right now. This is Alex Urbina, your advanced life coach specialist. One of the most frequent questions I hear is, what is a life coach? Well, tune in every Friday at noon to learn the value of having a coach and listen to a live coaching session on the radio. Right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
It's Consumers Furniture's President's Day sale. We are Santa Clarita's largest furniture store, and this weekend everything is 25% off our already low prices or finance for 24 months interest-free. All bedrooms, dining rooms, living rooms, and more is 25% off. Come in and see all the new merchandise and special floor sample closeouts we have for our largest sale of the year. Consumers Furniture is located in the Center Point Shopping Center below Sam's Club and Walmart.
You already know Salt Creek Grill has the best food in our valley. Well, now you can have Salt Creek's gourmet meals catered to your event.
I'm Greg Amsler, owner of Salt Creek Grill. I'd like to introduce you to a new level of catering, featuring our catering director, Tamara Levine.
Salt Creek Grill creates memorable experiences, which leaves our clients and guests with a sense of awe and excitement. From menu development to picturesque presentation, you'll enjoy culinary excellence and creative catering.
Salt Creek Grill, a new level of catering.
A Royal Suite Home Furnishings is celebrating its 42nd President's Day mattress sale with the lowest prices ever through February 28th, featuring only American-made mattresses as low as $129, a 3-piece queen bed only $145, or this 6-piece bedroom set including a 3-piece queen bed, dresser, and nightstand for only $345. Hurry, limited stock. 48 months financing, no interest on approved credit. A Royal Suite Home Furnishings in Center Point across from Sam's Club. ARoyalSuite.com.
Royal Suite. Sweet dreams.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Welcome back to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with the Ask Brien radio show. BRIEN.com is also our website. So we have a great guest today. We've been learning a lot of information. We were going over the 10 steps. Basically, I consider them, although our guest may not, these are 10 steps to success for a business. And so we had started out, he had given us 5 so far, and we're going to come back with 6 through 10. Anyone who didn't learn about the steps 1 through 5, they can listen to the Ask Brien radio show when it's on YouTube and also on the podcast after the show. Without any further ado, James Kernan. So, we had gone over, the last step we had gone over was culture, and we're now on step number 6. So what would step number 6 be?
Step number 6 would be the management infrastructure. That's more of the accountability and or structure. What does the meeting structure need to look like? And really that's about empowering your managers to set goals for individuals, connect them to the vision and the ultimate goal of the company, and then a meeting frequency and helping hold them accountable in hopefully a positive way by rewards of them performing. So the management would be number 6. Referral marketing was number 7. It could be an extension of kind of your go-to-market strategy, but referral marketing was so important, I just made a whole separate section for that. So the referral marketing about, the average customer that you call on today works with the average of 30 different vendors. You're one of those, and the objective would be to identify the other 29 and at least work with a few of them. And we used to that was our most successful marketing campaign, were referrals. So we tracked that and worked real hard at that. So I help teach people how to get more referral leads in the business. Number 8 is probably the most boring, but it's one of my most favorite ones because that was my major back in college, way back when, and that's finance or cash flow, and that's I called it fiscal fitness. So it's managing the right financial reports and the KPIs, tracking your success and what's important and what's not. And unfortunately, when I speak at different groups, one of my favorite questions to ask small business owners, and I also speak in front of a lot of sales audiences, but I ask the question, I go, how many of you have had an accounting class? And on average, it's probably about 20%. So, I think accounting is really important, and it makes great salespeople even better if they've had any accounting in their background. But as a small business owner, you don't have to be an accounting or finance major. You just have to know the numbers a little bit and what you should track. And monitoring that, cash is king. You need to be able to measure and monitor that. So that's critical. Number 9 was HR, and that was more on recruiting and onboarding and training and then retaining employees. So HR was number 9. And then the last one, could be part of your growth strategy, but, I called it the exit strategy, mergers and acquisitions. A couple of the companies I worked with, had a big growth plan, and part of the growth plan was acquiring other companies. That's kind of where I learned that trick of the trade. And, it's a great growth strategy of hiring, other or acquiring other businesses and pulling them in underneath your portfolio if it adds value and makes sense. Or in some cases, that's, people need a succession plan or an exit plan, and that's always seems to be the missing chapter of everybody's business plan. How are they going to exit the business? So I always start with the end in mind. That was the 10th and final session or chapter of that. But, want to understand people's goals and then kind of map these 10 steps into what they want to do. So those are the 10.
So now I want to go to, we're going to come up with this fictitious business owner that we've been using probably for the last 3 years now. Alex is looking at me. He owns the furniture store in the small town. He has an online website, a 5-pager, and he's trying to grow his business. And he's doing about $250,000 gross revenue. What are you going to tell him to do? How are you going to try to help him out? Besides signing up for your program, how would you? What would you tell him to do, and how would you implement that program?
So most of the time, when people are struggling, there's an assessment that I always typically start with all the one-off engagements that I work with, and I call it the performance review, and it's kind of the business owner will answer 150 questions. It's 15 questions in 10 different categories, and there's a graphical representation, which is a wheel chart. It's all these questions are 1 through 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. And I've done probably 400, almost 500 of these exercises, and they all look the same to me. It's supposed to be a perfect round wheel, and what I always see, most common graph is sales and marketing are really low. Things like culture, leadership, financial operations, those are all customer service. Those things are all graded really high. And then strategic planning is low. So there's a direct correlation with strategic planning and lack of sales and marketing. And that's why what I said earlier, the very first step I always do is I'll start with the plan. What do you want? And then ask tough questions like, what is your unique selling proposition? Or who is your ideal customer? A lot of people don't know that. So in order to create a good go-to-market strategy and what partners to work with, you really need to understand and come up with those things. So I start with asking lots of questions about their current model. How do you market the business now? Show me who your ideal customer is, and we help identify that if they don't know that yet. What's their and I can ask you questions. Is the reach all around the country, or is it a regional or national?
So right now it's local.
Okay, so just local, and is all.
But they're hoping to get regional and then get bigger.
Okay, and is 100% of the revenues coming through the website, or is there a brick and mortar store, a showcase?
There's a brick and mortar store, probably 85% of the business. They started out as a brick and mortar back in the 80s, and now they are in 2018. They didn't adapt well.
Okay. So then I would just take a look from there. I would go to the store and take a look at that, and then also work with and with the eyes of a consumer. Is this somewhere that I would want to shop and work? So I like going on site to people and giving them that feedback. I identify and make sure they understand who their target market is to make sure that the campaigns are going to map to that. There's a lot of things. Most people don't have big marketing budgets, and marketing, kind of back to what I was saying back in 2001 when the market went down, what's the number one thing most corporations drop when profits are down and the market is soft? Most people just turn off their advertising and marketing, right?
Absolutely.
So I took the opposite approach where I cranked it way up because I had to, because I had a very aggressive growth plan. And the funny thing is, back on my original business plan, I still have a copy of it. When I wrote that, I wanted to grow to $22 million. And the goal was $22 million, and I only grew to 12 and still sold the business. And I thought I was a failure, but everybody looks at that as a big success. So that's kind of the funny part of it. But, I'd want to understand more about, that target market, I think, is really important. So any other feedback that you can share with me about why you think your sales are flat?
Well, the sales are flat because people are now going online. They're buying products elsewhere. And, of course, they still go to the big warehouses, Costco's and whatever. And so now they're selling some of the furniture, not the custom high-quality furniture that I have, but they're going to those type of stores, and they're not understanding that my furniture is great, good furniture, good high quality, but, competition with both the warehouses, the Amazons, and the Internet is just, it's killing my business.
Right. So two other things come to mind. Number one is I'd want to do an exercise called a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, really as it compares to their competitors. So where they think they're strong compared to the competitors, where they think they're weak, and then the opportunities and threats from a competition, and really understand the competition. And once I have that part, then we can really start working on that go-to-market strategy, and then your what I call value-based selling. That, especially things like furniture, and when you identify who your ideal customer is, are we trying to attract the people that shop at the cheap stores? and the Craigslist shoppers, and they just want the cheapest price possible? Is that who we want, or do we want to be, the Nordstrom or the Saks of Fifth Avenue, kind of the high-end market, and that's who we want to attract?
So closer to Nordstrom, I would say.
Okay, so you want to attract that high end, and that's where all the money is, and that's when sales is fun. Sales isn't fun to me when you're the low bid. Sales is fun to me when you're the high bid, but you have the best value, right? So you need to appeal to people's emotions, and really change. It's like what Starbucks did. If any of us looked at the Starbucks business plan back when they formed the business and said, we're going to sell a cup of coffee for $5, we'd all just start laughing, and nobody would invest in that, right? But look what they did, and they took a 25-cent cup of coffee and made it a $5 experience where everybody wants to go there and hang out. So I would look at, what does it need? One, how do I compare to my competition today, and what do I need to do to get there and make that more of an experience for people that they're willing to pay that top dollar? And that's really the value proposition that I'm talking about.
So James, you're in your business in Kernan Consulting. You're a coach, you're an advisor, and you're a mentor. And just going through this exercise a little bit, you basically seem to have taken a lot of the tactics that people were using, analyzed where they were going, and turned them into a strategic plan. So when you're working with someone, do you normally teach them how to be strategic and to come up with these things on their own, or do you just essentially say, well, here's the 10 things you're doing wrong, let me show you how to fix them? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. My approach is, I want to make that business owner a better leader. I don't want to go in front of their, people have said, I just want to hire you to come in and fix things. I go, no. I'll come in and help you fix things, but you're going to get all the credit because I want your team to admire you. When big commission checks need to get handed out, don't direct deposit them. You need to go face-to-face with them and shake their hand and say thank you, and you hand it to them. So they need to get eyeball to eyeball and be that leader and be out front and be the visionary. And frankly, a lot of people struggle with that. They don't, they're shy. They don't like speaking in public. Maybe they just don't think they have the right personality. But we, we really try to, in a positive accountability from a positive standpoint, but also very encouraging. Try to make sure. I'll ask lots of questions, and then I say, well, what do you think you need to do right now? Well, I think I need to do this. It's like, well, gosh, I agree with you. I think that's the right approach, and I just help them answer their own questions and gather the information they need to make the right decision, and then help them execute. And the execution is where a lot of people struggle. And another simple way of saying what I do is I help busy business owners work on their business, not in their business.
I think that's really good way to approach it.
Yeah.
How often do you go into a business like this? I know you have a bunch of programs, and I want to make sure we definitely get to those because I think they're really exciting and they're inexpensive. But how often do you go into a business or go to someone and you're looking at what they're doing, and people who go in these businesses are so passionate, right? Everybody's passionate about their business, and you have to tell them, hey, your baby's ugly. How often do you have to do that?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. It quite often, and I just try to do it with the most positive, encouraging way possible and a smile on my face. But help them. With these exercises that you do, people are smart, and you'll go through these assessments and these exercises, and they can come up with their own conclusions, or I'll help spread the light on them. And sometimes it's harder than others, but I'll just say, doing the exercises, when people see things in black and white, it's like, okay, I agree, and most of the time it's easier than you think.
When you say easier than you think, question for you: if you have, if you are trying to go through one of these monthly programs, like the $97 one, you're not going to get a one-on-one. You're going to get information, correct?
Yeah, that's more of a self-paced educational program where people, we do have monthly video online coaching calls where they can ask the coaches, and how do I implement this, or I've got a question of that. There's a good online community with a lot of people's peers, so there's other like-minded business owners that probably have the same question that they can ask online, and there's a big knowledge base there. But everybody can't afford that one-on-one experience, but they still want to get there, right? And I've always said, all roads can lead to success. Just how fast do you want to get there, and what's your budget? But that $97 program's called 3 Steps to 1 Million.com, and that's an online community. So it's kind of a one-to-many approach where we have all the fundamentals, all the campaigns, all the documents out available. There's video trainings, but people go through that at their own pace. The next level up is $297 a month, and that's the Millionaire Mastermind peer groups. We run that program. That's more hands-on. We talk weekly. It's a one-to-many, but it's more intimate, where there's groups of 10 to 15 in each one of the groups. Us coaches facilitate the calls, help hold people accountable to execute their sales and marketing, or in many cases just create the plan. But we help encourage them to execute that. And then, the next graduating program up from that, and if people need it, is the one-on-one engagements. And that's a lot of fun for me, because that's where I really get involved in people's businesses and work closely and build strong relationship with them. And typically we can execute much faster that way.
We're going to be right back. We're KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, the Ask Brien radio show.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Bob, I don't believe you.
You're jaded, Blanche.
Read my lips, Bob. You've had a history of exaggeration.
It's true. They're building Castaic High School.
Castaic High, like in Castaic, California.
That's right, Blanche.
Prove it, Bob.
Go to your computer, type in CastaicHighProject.com and get free and frequent updates.
What's that web address again?
CastaicHighProject.com.
With fervor, like you really mean it.
CastaicHighProject.com.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, you need an expert. Hi, I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I've helped hundreds of Santa Clarita residents save their homes completely for free. I've got just over 20 years experience and a loan modification success rate of over 80%. I can negotiate better terms with your bank, and I can save your home from foreclosure. And again, we do this completely for free. So if you're in any danger, please call me today at 661-714-1400. That number again is 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I'll be happy to help you save your home for free.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back, KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM, because I'm a New Yorker. All right, we're back with the Ask Brien radio show. And our great guest, James Kernan. He's been wonderful, providing us a lot of information, anywhere from growing a furniture store to 10 steps to success. And we got more information. And Alex had a question about processes, so go ahead.
Yeah, so James, one of the things that you touch on your website that I noticed, you said your approach is people, process, and technology. And, it seems to me like that's the fastest way to grow a business. Why do you take it that route?
Well, a lot of people will come to us in the very beginning and say, hey, I need help growing sales, or I'm struggling to meet payroll. And they want to be very narrow with their approach and want to try to fix one thing. And I like taking more of a holistic, big picture approach and just saying, look, we can start with that. That might be the major weakness, but we need to kind of take a big picture approach and involve your people, process, and technology. The technology is really the tools in the business that you as the business owner provide your people. We talked about the importance of people. That's, to me, your number one asset. Most people have services businesses, and your people are your services. So you need to keep them motivated and smiling and fired up to do a great job. And then what connects the two are really the processes. And it's one of the things when I work with these business owners one-on-one, a lot of people, their long-term plans is an exit strategy, and they want to build value in their business. And one of the things that people can do is document the processes that they have, make sure they've got the right tools in place and get the right people in place. And that's why I say those are the three key pieces to get your business to a successful level and really grow the value of the business, so when you do sell it, you'll get more money. So that's number one. And then one other key important piece of that is you're the business owner, and everything starts with you, and there needs to be a trigger point in your mind where it's like, you know what, I'm tired of mediocrity. I'm tired of just scraping by. I think 72% of the U.S. population lives paycheck to paycheck. That's almost disturbing to think about.
It is.
And I want to get people to think like, you know what, I'm going to blow right through that. So I need them to change their mind, and it's an attitude with a little swagger to it. It's like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to kick some tail as I do it. So that's one of the things that we on purpose will look for people who really want to grow and that are passionate about that, because those are easier people to teach. And if they're not in that mindset, we try to get them there, and then take that holistic approach through people, process, and technology.
Yeah, I've always found that scalability in a business is always hard because people think that, well, I was able to do it to get it this far, and people may have their own set of tools to do that, but when they have to scale it and they have to put the processes in place, and it's no longer just them thinking about the things they do every day, but they need to teach people how to follow those and also have, enable people with the tools to get that done. That seems to be the hardest. So it seems like this approach really is right on the money with that. I really like your idea there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that one company I worked with in the tech space, we had a real successful run. We went from 30 million to 315 million in about 7 years. And I think I had, when I started, I had one person reporting to me. It was a salesperson. And then when I left, there were 18 profit centers that were reporting to me. And so just a great run. But each year, we never would have been able to grow like we did unless we had the right tools in place. There were some really smart people involved in that business, invested heavily in the infrastructure, and those tools really controlled the growth. And growth can be a lot of fun when you're, making lots of money is fun, but it also, if you don't have the right tools in place, it can be super stressful and you're ripping your hair out. So I encourage people to invest in the infrastructure and make it controlled growth, not chaotic growth.
And so, James, it seems like you've been doing this for a long time as well and pretty successful. Is it true? I read that your company has successfully coached over 400 VARs to grow their business. Is that true?
Yeah. Wow. We've run a lot of one-to-many programs, and that number continues to grow. So I love working with people. I've been blessed in my career and felt I've done very, very well. And there was kind of a trigger point in my life where I just came to the conclusion where my legacy is I wanted to help other people become successful. So that's what makes my heart tick and what I'm passionate with today. That's really the why I formed Kernan Consulting and why I'm driven to do that.
So we're going to wind down to our show, and we have two things I want to ask. One is, what is the simplest way and the best way to grow a business that's a startup? What do you think would be the best? Is it team? Is it the culture? Is it the finances? Is it marketing? If you had to focus on one of the 10.
That's tough. People have asked me, and my normal answer is, you need to do all 10, but do them in a specific order. If you're going to do one thing of the 10, I'd say start with your plan, because that's where you make that commitment to, here are the goals I'm going after. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's what makes us unique, and here's why I'm driven. Here's why I'm passionate to do what I'm doing. So, to me, everything starts with a plan. So I would start with that.
All right, and then lastly, I know you're speaking all around the country. My understanding is you're going to be speaking in Southern California. We have a lot of listeners from Southern California. So if you can give us a little information about that event and when it is and how to get tickets, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you bet. There's an upcoming event in Anaheim at the Anaheim Technology Convention Center in Anaheim, right off Anaheim Way, on April 18th. I think that's a Thursday, so April 18th, and it's called SMB Tech Fest. So they can just go to SMB Tech Fest, all one word, smbtechfest.com, and you could sign up that way to see their great lineup of coaches in all different industries. I encourage people to go check that out.
And you're going to be a speaker there?
Yeah, I'll be one of the speakers there. Yep.
And the festival itself is what, for technology or for any business owner or what?
Really any small, mid-sized business owners. A lot of professionals in Southern California come through there. I've spoken at that event for the past few years, and it is geared towards technology business owners. But again, it's really for any small, mid-sized business owner. I think people should go check that out.
And the ticket prices?
It's actually free. There's a VIP pass that, you can go check it out. Just register early on that website. And if there's any issues with that, you can contact me. Just visit the KernanConsulting.com website. I've got access to VIP passes and happy to share those with your listeners.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. We're about ready to conclude. So one last phrase or one last thing that you want to tell people that are struggling to try to grow a business from 2 employees to 50?
I'm going to say 3 quick things. Number 1, get out there and market yourself. Business just doesn't fall out of the sky. You got to get out there and keep marketing yourself. So that's number 1. Number 2, get involved in some type of community, some kind of peer group, some kind of community, might be in your industry or your local community, but you want to be around like-minded people that keep you encouraged and keep you doing the right thing, and then surround yourself with positive people, and that kind of goes with the second one. You tend to be a blend of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And take a long, hard look at who you spend the most time with.
Look at Elite Magazine.